For all the Jural Assemblies Part 13 judges, justices, and hired jurists, Judge Anna blows the whistle on the Whistleblowers by Anna von Reitz. Imagine an apple. The apple has a skin, and inside the skin, it has sweet juicy flesh. You can't get to the flesh without piercing the skin. It is the same way with the land and soil jurisdiction we are heir to. The soil is the top 6 inches of the land, like the skin on the apple. All the rest deeper than 6 inches is land, the flesh of the apple. By definitions long established, the soil comprises the national jurisdiction of the states, and is managed by our unincorporated counties. The land comprises the international land jurisdiction of the states and is managed by our unincorporated state jural assemblies. Land and soil are inextricably bonded together, like the skin and flesh of an apple. That is why we speak of the land and soil of Wisconsin or Virginia or Texas. That is why when you become a State Jural Assembly member, the County Jural Assembly is also created, and vice versa. Our ancestors were determined that no king or government was going to control their lives again, so they made the county the skin of the apple, the fundamental political unit and supreme political jurisdiction in the American government. Strange but true, the county sheriff elected by the County Jural Assembly members is the top public law official in the country. Within the physical boundaries of his county, he is the embodiment of the public law and its chief enforcer. Because he works for the soil jurisdiction, the actual county sheriff is a peacekeeping official and not a law enforcement officer. See the difference? Peacekeepers work for the people, the land and the soil. Law enforcement officers work for persons, the corporations and their shareholders operating as incorporated states of state, like the state of Ohio. We have been well and thoroughly confused and duped into thinking that their county sheriff is our county sheriff, when in fact an unlawful conversion has taken place. Many of those operating our counties back in the 1960s took the bait of federal block grants and elected to incorporate the unincorporated counties they were working for. In doing so, they unwittingly removed and converted the actual county government into mere commercial corporations operated as franchises, like Dairy Queen franchises of territorial and municipal corporations. They handed over our sovereignty, for us, in exchange for racketeering kickbacks. Ironically, we are fortunate that those same people who voted for the unlawful conversion of the counties were already unwittingly functioning as incorporated persons, so had no authority to give away our counties. They were merely employees of ours. They had already vacated their natural capacity as unincorporated jurors. Many counties tried to have it both ways and kept the unincorporated county running and simply set up a corporation calling itself something similar, like, the County of Jackson, instead of Jackson County, so that the offered federal kickbacks could be laundered through the County of Jackson. This set up a situation where county officials were, for a time, and some still are, operating in 2 separate capacities. The sheriff elected to the unincorporated soil jurisdiction office simply put on a different hat as the occasion demanded, and functioned as the sheriff of the incorporated county, too. But our ancestors set it up so that no man can serve 2 masters. The problem is that our actual counties are political subdivisions of our states and they occupy an entirely different jurisdiction, that of the land and soil, which does not recognize or tolerate any form of dual citizenship at all. The land and soil jurisdiction of this country does not allow us to operate in incorporated and unincorporated capacity at the same time. It's one way or the other. Either you operate as the actual sheriff of the unincorporated county and state, or you operate as a sheriff of an incorporated county franchise of a state of state. See the difference? There is a Macon County sheriff working for Georgia, the actual state, and then, out of the blue, there's suddenly a County of Macon, and the sheriff of the County of Macon is working for the territorial state of Georgia instead. Sleight of hand. Presto change-o. 1 minute you are standing on the land and soil and your county sheriff is your county sheriff, and the next he is a patsy working for a foreign corporation. Go figure. In the years since all that happened, things have gotten even more balled up, and we've added another layer of this incorporation scam. Instead of working for the territorial state of state, the man who appears to be working as your county sheriff may be working for a municipal state of state corporation, instead. These moonlighting sheriffs and other county officials are, for the most part unwittingly, functioning as imposters, appearing to be land and soil jurisdiction county sheriffs and county officials, when in fact they are being paid by foreign corporations and not standing on the land and soil jurisdiction of this country at all. And this explanation actually does pertain to the main topic, which is judges, justices, and hired jurists. All the people you see inhabiting what appear to be your courts are hired jurists, and they will admit it. Go ahead and ask them. Walk up to any of the state judges or municipal state judges and ask them the question, "Are you a hired jurist?" And they will tell you, "Why, yes, I am." They will be surprised that you asked, but the vast majority will answer truthfully. The same scams and unlawful conversions that I just described with the county sheriffs apply to the judges, justices, and hired jurists, too. 99.9% of the members of the bar associations are not qualified to act as actual judges or as justices, either one. In the course of the long researches that led up to this moment, we surveyed the judges operating in both the territorial states of states and the municipal states of states courts, and out of approximately 10,000 of these hired jurists, we found one guy in Wisconsin who was actually qualified to act as an actual judge in a public court, if and when he elects to reclaim his natural and unincorporated status as a member of the Wisconsin Jural Assembly. The rest of these people are just hired guns, working in private quasi-military and private corporation tribunals. Instead of being employed by the actual unincorporated state or county as actual judges and actual justices, they were suddenly reduced to the capacity of being hired jurists in the employ of foreign corporations doing business as either territorial states of states courts or municipal states of states courts. The California courts ceased to function and the incorporated territorial state of California courts and the incorporated municipal state of state courts took over the judicial functions, but the actual unincorporated courts owed to the people of California and the people of each county in California disappeared overnight. And that is why you can't find justice in this country anymore. Both the territorial state of state and the municipal state of state are for-profit organizations in the business of providing governmental services. The service they are providing tends to be racketeering aimed at fleecing the actual living people out of their assets for the benefit of their respective corporations. And their hired jurists are, after all, working for them, and not occupying any public office, so what the hey? They get away with what they can get away with. I had a moment of supreme irony the other day. One of my supporters was trying to explain why I am not a member of the Bar Association in Alaska and why in fact I couldn't be a member of the bar and serve in the capacity that I am serving. He made the error of describing me as a common law jurist, as if I were a hired jurist, only operating a common law court like counterparts in the state of Alaska are operating commercial corporation courts. Closer, but still no banana. The Alaska Statehood Compact created a national trust for Alaska operated as the Alaska State. That national trust contains the land and soil jurisdiction of Alaska even if Alaska has not yet been formally enrolled as a state in the Union. Therefore, I, as one of the people of this country, can invoke and fill the empty public office of Alaska State Judge or Justice of the Peace at the county level. When we realized the scam being played, our research led us to the old government land office and the discovery that although counties were mapped out and designated in Alaska at the time of statehood, the land and soil jurisdiction of the state were never occupied. In a sense, our state did not exist, except as a national trust laid out on paper. It was up to us to choose to act in our unincorporated capacity as county and state jural assembly members, to occupy our state and our county, to hold our elections and conduct our business as the lawful inheritors of the national trust and the land and soil jurisdiction owed to Alaska and Alaskans. There were only a dozen or so of us up to speed to begin with, so it was a matter of staring at each other in disbelief, going through the motions, and everyone electing each other to different land and soil jurisdiction public offices, all of us serving as state citizens. Fortunately, it doesn't matter how many or how few qualified State Jural Assembly members there are for the land and soil jurisdiction to be occupied. Even one qualified elector operating in their unincorporated capacity prevents the corporations from claiming exclusive legislative control, a condition that would leave us with no land and soil jurisdiction to stand upon and result in the collapse of our country and our states. I filled the public office of Alaska State Superior Court Judge. See the difference? Alaska State Superior Court Judge, not State of Alaska Superior Court Judge. Alaska and the Alaska State National Trust were not abandoned, and no exclusive legislative hegemony was achieved by the usurping commercial corporations as a result. The actual state and people have survived by the skin of their teeth, much to the consternation and annoyance of the foreign commercial corporations that have labored so long and so hard to take over our country, steal our resources, and enslave our people for their profit. At the county level, the people are served by justices of the peace. At the state level, the people are also served by justices, as in, justices of the Supreme Court. Also at the state level, because not all of the state's international jurisdiction was ever delegated away, we have judges. All the persons are served by hired jurists arbitrarily calling themselves judges or justices, none of whom are holding any valid public office in the American government at all. So the additional irony is that I am an actual judge holding an actual elected public office approved by the people of this state, and I am the one being accused of lying and being a fake judge. There are some people who are so stupid or so evilly anti-American, that they can't note the difference between Ohio, Ohio State, State of Ohio, and State of Ohio, even when you point it out and explain the difference to them. The fact that there are, as a result of these different entities, both unincorporated and incorporated, multiple court systems in play, also passes them by. Obviously, too, those who work for these foreign corporations and whose jobs depend upon them, are motivated to continue this scam and this effort to undermine the people and their government, just as the living people have an interest, once they are alerted to it, to regain their unincorporated status. I am willfully serving the people of Alaska, instead of the persons of Alaska. The reason that I have not been arrested and charged with impersonating a judge is that those who would have to bring the charges are in fact impersonating our judges, and as hired jurists, they know it. Strange and incredible as it may seem, I'm not the fake judge here. They are. Just as our elected county sheriffs are the actual sheriffs and their sheriffs are just stand-ins, calling themselves sheriffs but acting in completely different and foreign capacities. Now, with all of this in view, listen to this claptrap from the Southern Poverty Law Center, which I have famously observed is not Southern, has nothing to do with poverty, and is a legal center having nothing to do with the actual public law, and you will see what we are up against, both in terms of bare-faced lies and misrepresentations and in terms of vicious self-interest on the part of these groupies feeding off the corporate court system. http://thewhistleblowers.info/warning-Anna-Maria-Riesinger. Please also note the deliberate mischaracterization of me as a sovereign citizen, which is a meaningless oxymoron. It is impossible to be a citizen and a sovereign at the same time, thus these ignorant people, who are claiming to be experts in the law while offering legal services, continue to act as ignoramuses and to mislead people so as to prevent them from knowing and exercising their true power as State Jural Assembly members. And thus also prevent us from restoring the government we are owed and keep us from acting in our natural capacities and seek to usurp our public offices and replace them with employees of their foreign, for-profit, governmental services corporations instead. Wise as serpents and gentle as doves, folks. The ignorance we are surrounded with in the general populace is thick enough to cut with a knife. The guile and evil of the men actually in the know who are orchestrating all this is also not to be underestimated. Once you know who you are and how your actual government is supposed to operate and in which jurisdiction your actual government exists, you will realize how we have all been played and what you have to do to correct it. Reclaim your natural unincorporated political status, repopulate your unincorporated land and soil jurisdiction state, and, as members of the State Jural Assembly, occupy your vacated actual public offices, including the county justices of the peace, the state justices and the state judges. I guarantee that the phonies working as hired jurists won't have a word to say about it. Please hit subscribe, like, share and get ready for many more Anna Von Reitz videos.